Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see today, we've got Southampton versus Coventry preview coming your way, 12:30 Saturday live on Sky Sports. A massive game, really. I'm delighted to be joined by Martin Sanders, Football Martin, on YouTube. Martin, how are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really looking forward to the game of the weekend, actually, Simon. Though the only thing that kind of puts a dampener on it for me is that it's a 12:30 kickoff.
Mm.
I'm not a massive fan of the early kickoffs.
No, the atmosphere always seems to be a little bit flatter and a little bit worse for these early kickoffs, doesn't it? And I'm not sure exactly what that reason is, but it's the same at CBS. So I completely kind of share your view on that. Southampton's season has been strange, I think, to say the least.
Yeah.
You could put it in that way. Will Still obviously came in with high expectations. You've got one of the best squads in the league coming down from the Premier League in terms of individual players. What happened with Will Still? If you can quickly sum his time up, and why didn't it work out?
I was really excited by the appointment, and I actually thought it was a really good appointment at the time. I'd seen him on Monday Night Football, seen him on a few podcasts, and done a lot of research into him, and I liked him. I thought, do you know what? This guy is he's young, but he seems like he's got a really clear identity and idea. And he just come in, he just didn't get the players on board. I don't think they bought into him, whether that was a lack of experience in the English game or lack of respect. There's a lot of egos in our squad. There's no doubt about that. You drop down with a lot of so-called Premier League players, though they didn't play like they were Premier League players last year. I just feel that those egos can be quite big in a dressing room.
Hmm.
It's probably difficult to manage. Then I spoke about it a few times, probably not gone into detail, is that, like you've got a sporting director who's overseeing the purchasing of players and recruitment. Are they all aligned? Is Will aligned to him? Are they all aligned? A lot of these football clubs, you have different people with different ideas.
Hmm.
I think maybe he was a bit of a victim to that. And it just didn't feel, his charisma didn't feel right. Like he didn't have the energy that the fans really wanted. And yeah, we just didn't get the results. And he had some really good players brought through the door. Didn't play, say, Fellows as
Hmm.
much as maybe Fellows would have wanted to, and same with Finn Azaz, and just didn't get the best out of those players. And I think he was maybe looking back thinking, this team let a lot of goals in last year. I need to tighten them up at the back. So maybe wasn't so expansive in his football and become all about trying to make us harder to beat, where we needed to go and try and win games at the top end, because he didn't really have loads of real firepower through the middle. And
Yeah, yeah,
they're still
absolutely.
struggling. They're still struggling with that, but yeah, it just didn't work out, unfortunately.
And Tonderecker is now the man in charge, having done very well in his kind of interim period. I was
Mm.
interested to see Sport Republic go for him because I think their track record of appointing managers hasn't been the best. It would be fair to say, wouldn't it, as a Southampton fan? Thoughts on Ecker and Sport Republic right now in charge of the club?
Yeah, Eckert was the under-21 manager, so he wasn't involved with Will Steele. It wasn't like he was his assistant manager and he's been promoted. Paul Trollope was the assistant manager, and Adam Lallana was on Will Steele's staff. Lallana's dropped down to the 21s, and obviously Eckert came in to take the first team as like the interim manager. Look, he made subtle tweaks, but I still think it's a gamble. I know it's early days. I think fixtures fell well for him, Simon. When you look at them, like after he was appointed, it was QPR away. Not an easy game, but they weren't in great form at the time. Sheffield Wednesday at home. Then obviously gets two good results, and on back of an international break, that we have Charlton at the Valley,
Hmm.
who were newly promoted, and we just caught them off guard on the day. We were just a bit quicker, a bit faster than them, and he exploited midfield really well.
Stunning
And
first half, wasn't it? I was watching another
yeah,
game and the goals were just coming through thick and fast for Southampton in that one.
you lead me in nicely, actually, because you talk about like first halves. In his first halves, our football's been really good in the majority of them. I look at Sheffield Wednesday at home, we were good in the first half, really good at Charlton. You look at Leicester, Birmingham, West Brom, starting games really well, scoring goals. But second halves of games, we haven't quite been good enough. And there's a lot of frailties in terms of like dealing with set play, dealing with crosses, and just being really disciplined. I think we
Hmm.
struggle with that late in games. And I don't know if that's because he prepares so well, and the players talk about his preparation, that he prepares so well for games. And maybe like we start well enough, but it's like the in-game management needs work. And I still think you asked me about Sport Republic, and I still think it's a gamble as an
Hmm.
appointment. Yeah, it started well, but how does it look in a few months' time?
Is it the
You know,
easy way out for them?
I think it was the easy option at the time. Yeah, I think it
Mm,
was. Yeah, because they would look at that. There's no secret down here. Like I'm in and around sort of match day, and I talk to people, and I get a feeling of what was going on. But I think Gary O'Neill was the man they wanted. I think Gary
mm,
O'Neill was, and they obviously pushed it out because they wanted to see what the fans felt about it. There was a massive backlash to it, and he was the most impressive in the interview process. And I think like with Eckert, he was always going to be the manager at some stage or the head coach. Johannes Spors is the sporting director. He wanted him at the football club, Eckert, and he saw his progression to become the manager. It's just happened a bit earlier, but I still think he's young. I still think when he's come up against some top coaches so far, he's found it quite difficult. You know, you look at Alex Neil at Millwall a couple of weeks ago, totally outdid him. He
mm.
totally outdid him. And I've got to say, in the second half against West Brom, we were really lucky to walk out of it with anything. So I think he's in for a big test tomorrow against Coventry. A manager that knows the league, that's got experience, that's tactically very, very switched on. I think it will be interesting to see how Lampard sets up against us. But what's Eckert going to do to beat Coventry tomorrow? Because like you can't go gung ho like we've been going gung ho in first halves.
Mm.
You know, because I think if we do that against Coventry, we could get severely exploited at the back. So I think it's a real tactical, the tactic tomorrow will be more as fascinating as the game. I really do. I'm intrigued so much by the fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Southampton, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, been playing three at the back for the majority
Yeah.
of the season under Tonderecker. What's that formation looked like? And it seems like Tom Fellows' £10 million signing from West Brom over the summer. What I really
Mm.
liked about Southampton, by the way, is that you bought the best players in the Championship on paper in terms of
Yeah.
Finnazaz and Tom Fellows, which is the way you should recruit to get out of the Championship. Seems like Fellows is playing the kind of wing back role, and Azaz is in
Mm.
a number 10 position with former Cov Loney, by the way, Adam Armstrong
Mm.
up front in a great vein of form as well. How's the formation working and how are the players fitting into that system?
It's tweaked massively under Eckert compared, though it looks the same on paper compared to what Will Steele was playing. He's tweaked it. So Harwell Bellis plays on the right side of defence. He's brought Jack Stevens back in at left side centre back, and he's put Nathan Wood as the main linchpin between the three. He gets him a little bit wider, and he gets Harwell Bellis to step in and help Fellows when Fellows is attacking, and he wants Fellows higher up the field. The issue is when a game becomes stretched. Taylor Harbour-Bellis come out in the local press and already said that they sometimes that the centre backs are helping too much and doing too much, and that can kind of take away from their own defensive responsibilities. I'm
Mm.
still not convinced with Tom Fellows as a right wing back. Ryan Manning's playing the left wing back, but his form is inconsistent. Good at going forward, not very good defensively. You'd say the same for Fellows. And as games get stretched and you get deep into a game, and you're like 20 to go, 15 to go, 10 to go. So I'd like to see a plan B. I like to see, can we go with a back four and make it a bit tighter? Can we put two sixes in and be harder to play through? I feel that the formation needs work. I like what he's got out of Adam Armstrong. You talk about the former loanee.
Mm.
His performances have been good. He's really matured in terms of the way he's playing. He's never played the number 9 role for Southampton properly. He's always played wide one side, left or right, played in the channels. And that's where everyone assumed Adam Armstrong can only play channels. He can't play as a 9.
Mm.
But when you play the 9 and you can let him drop and you can get runners in behind, and that can be Yander from midfield, Fellows, Sienza, we've not come on to.
Mhm.
He's the real key. When you've got runners, his vision and his like his footballing brain is so good. He's
Yeah.
so good at the moment. I can't speak highly enough of his performances.
Golden Boot leader, I think, right now as well in terms of the
Yeah,
race.
11th.
And we've obviously got a few names in contention for that as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I did want to come on to Cienza actually, because from what
Mm.
I've seen of him, he's just looked superb. Samson's best player this season.
Yeah, yeah, head and shoulders above anyone. He's brilliant. You know, he comes to England and his story is absolutely fascinating, by the way, to get to where he's got to. He's a really late bloomer. You know, he wasn't even playing 11-side football at sort of 16, 17. He was playing
Wow.
futsal in Brazil. And he didn't get his first pro contract till he was 22. He was nearly 23. and that was I can't remember where he said it was. I've seen a good few interviews with him at Schalke. It was at Schalke. He then he spent a bit of time in Sweden. He really found it difficult. Was playing for free basically, and just living in a basement with some other Brazilian players. Really struggled to sort of to get that first contract. But once he's got it, he was at Heidenheim last year, and he ripped the league to bits. He was one of the best players in the Bundesliga in the wide position as a winger. He travels with the ball. He's created more chances than any other player in the championship at the moment. He's a really good player to watch, and he's become a cult hero. I think it's not just through performances on the field, but the way that he shows passion. His story's good, and he's got the fans on board. He gives his shirt away at the end. He's given everything on the field, but off it too. And I think sometimes that can go a long way. It can create a good energy. Like he's creating a good energy for everybody else. And that's what I've enjoyed about Leo Sienza.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a real turnaround and obviously some good results apart from the defeat to Norwich. By the way, please do like and subscribe as we push towards 1,000 subscribers. And get any comments, the score predictions for Southampton Coventry this weekend. We'll come and do our score predictions at the end of this video. From an outside point of view, Martin, what have you made of Coventry this season? Be keen to hear your thoughts on Lampard and what you've seen of Coventry so far.
No, I thoroughly enjoy watching them play. Every time I watch them play, I really enjoy Coventry. And I'm pleased for Lampard actually, because it's interesting. His name was banded around down here at the start of the season. There was a lot of fans turn their nose up at him. It was like, you know, I think he was somebody that our ownership really liked, and you can absolutely see why. He's got. When you look at the group of players, when I've watched Coventry, it's very similar to what I saw with Mark Robbins. He's just getting the best out of them as an attacking force. I think they're brilliant to watch. I think Thomas Asante was a phenomenal bit of business. Really, I would have loved to have seen a Thomas Asante in a Southampton side, because I think if you give him service, he would score goals. And it seems to me that every time someone gets injured, someone steps in and does really well. Ellis Sims has been brilliant whenever I've watched him play. The right back has to be the best.
Yeah.
He's the best right back in the league. He's brilliant to watch. Matt Grimes in midfield. He's got championship experience, and there's, you know, Radoni spent a long time injured this year, isn't he? I don't think I've not seen him loads, but he was so good when I saw him play last year. So I look at the squad, I see goals, but I see experience, I see leaders, and they're a really good side to watch. That for me, you will go up. I think Coventry will go up. And do you know what? As a Southampton fan, I talked to Saints fans a lot last week, and everybody kind of feels the same about Coventry. I think obviously we want to win the weekend, but I think we would all like to see Coventry back in the Premier League. I think a lot of fans feel like that.
I was there for the Southampton, I think it was 4-1 or 4-0, 20 when you won the league or got promoted to the Premier League, and we went down to League One. I think that was an early kickoff because I got on like a 6 a.m. train down, something ridiculous. And the Southampton fans were holding like Sisu out banners at the time, and obviously we were in dire straits then. So I do think there's been some sort of good connection between the two clubs, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, there is a nice connection, isn't there? And I think that we're both wearing pony kits for a period of time, weren't we? Back in the late 90s, very similar kits, and like there was a lot of talk of Sisu as well down here, because there was a lot of talk of them coming here, and I think, you know, we were like dead against it at the time, and you know, obviously we've seen what's happened with Coventry, and it's just good to see you got good ownership and that own the stadium again, and just the club's back to where it should be, because it's gone through such a turbulent time. And a club very like it's a sleeping giant, isn't it? When you look at Coventry as a club in the Midlands, it is an absolute sleeping giant. Now, as a kid growing up, I always remember some really good games against Coventry, like, you know, Steve Grizovic in goal. Big fan of his. He was like, you know, I think he was pretty old at the time, but he was like brilliant though. He was good, and there's a few players that play for us and play for you, and I think there's just a nice respect between the two clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. You were bang on, by the way, and this is how you know that Mike's a football expert, and you should definitely go and subscribe to his channel. But when you said we get injuries this season, we've had a lot of injuries. But what's beautiful about this squad is someone is always ready to step up. You mentioned Ellis Sims had barely really featured, and then Hadji Wright's out injured, and Ellis Sims wins November Player of the Month in the Championship. Jack Radoni's been out for 2 months, and Brandon Thomas Asante comes in and plays for in the number 10 role and scores 10 goals. Brandon Thomas Asante is now out injured, and Radoni's back in. And it's just like they're trading places almost. So this is where, I mean, I've got a bit of stick on Twitter recently because I only put 2 Coventry players along with Gab Sutton in the team of the season so far in the Championship, because they've all been changing places and doing so well, and it's very difficult to kind of lay a finger on it. I think another interesting point going back to the formations is that we've played Bristol City at the weekend, who played three at the back, and we've played Preston, who we drew 1-1 with, and they had 10 men who were playing three at the back. And I think it's more difficult for us against that sort of formation. We've not been quite as free flowing in terms of what we've been able to create. Obviously, Jack Rodoni's coming back to fitness, and there's a reason for that potentially. But I do think teams that play three at the back against us are slightly more solid. What I'm now going to ask you is, do you think this game will have loads of goals in it, like I do, or do you think it'll be a bit more cagey than everyone else is expecting?
Yeah, I think it will have goals. I do like the goalkeeper, by the way. I didn't touch upon Carl
Oh,
Rushworth. What a great bit of business he is from Brighton and Hove Albion. I saw the save that he made late in the game. And at the end of the day, that save is what wins you league titles.
mhm.
Vital late on. We could so do with a goalkeeper like him, that when you really need a big save, he comes up. I think he will play a key role in the game tomorrow. I fear Coventry for loads of reasons. I fear crosses in the box that we're vulnerable to, and I hope that we've worked on set play, because
Mm.
we are really susceptible from sort of crosses, teams getting the ball out wide.
Long
I think
throws?
long throws is a big issue. I think
Good.
corners is an issue. Our goalkeeper's not commanding of his area. He spends a
Mm.
lot of time on his line, and I think as we end up under pressure, we can get deeper and deeper. I think it will. There'll be goals tomorrow. Anyone that thinks there won't be, I can't see it. I see goals in the Saints side, but I see goals all over the park in the Coventry side. It has potential to be a 3-3-4-4. That's how I feel going to it. It'll probably end up letting us all down, and we'll go to it and end up 1-1 or 0-0. But there should be goals. Saints not great at the back. Sienza, Fellows, Azaz, Armstrong. I think there's goals everywhere.
Interestingly, I think, if I'm right in saying, Southampton have scored 3 goals in each of their last 4 home games. So
Yeah.
at home, looking like a pretty tough side to stop. But you need 3 goals to beat Coventry, it seems, this season. It's what Wrexham managed to
Mm.
do when they beat us. Ipswich scored 3 against us when they beat us. But we do look capable of scoring 2 goals in every game. So it's interesting one in terms of, is the home form significantly different to the away form in terms of performances for Southampton?
Yeah, I think we're starting out the blocks a lot quicker at home. But then when we went to Charlton, when we were really good that day. We
Mm.
started really well, but we went to Millwall and they stifled us. They just they put a bit of a press on our midfield, and they didn't let us play. They doubled up on Fellows and I didn't give him a sniff all game. Cienza didn't play, and that was a bit of an issue because Cienza wasn't playing. Fellows is back tomorrow. He missed the game against Norwich, but Norwich did a bit of a job on us. They were quite physical. They're quite organised. And we ended up getting a bit stretched in midfield because I think when you play 3 games in a week, it becomes
Mhm.
that third game becomes a little bit too much sometimes, and you can get leggy players. I think the good thing about this game is there's been a whole week, so the spectacle should be a lot better because everyone's having the rest and recovery. But we have been good at home in recent weeks, but up until Tondra took charge, we've been pretty bad at home. Like some of the performances have been shocking. Swansea was awful. Stoke was terrible. Portsmouth,
Preston.
Portsmouth was like one of the worst games of football I think I've ever seen. It was that bad for that standard. It didn't even feel like a derby. I was like, we're here for a South Coast derby. This is billed as like a massive game, and it was absolutely shocking. It was so bad. I was like, I want to see passion. I want to see commitment. I want to see everything. Didn't see anything. No real tack in the tent. It was just a really bizarre game, but there was so much hyped around it. So I kind of like tomorrow I see as the biggest game of the season so far. We played Pompey at home already, but this is now the biggest game of the season because it's a real test for us as a club and as a squad to see where we're at. I think it's a test for the manager, and I think by this time tomorrow we will have a very good idea on where we're at. I think if we were to beat you tomorrow, I still think you'll go on and win the league. I still think it's Coventry's to go and lose, but it will be a real big test for us and where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the disparity in our home and away form, obviously, we've been brilliant all season, but the last 2 games we've lost 3-0 at Ipswich and drawn 1 all at Preston away from home. And they had 10 men and we were 1-0 up, and somehow we failed to win that game. home
Mm.
form, we've won 7 in a row now at the CBS, and that is what is going to get us promoted and hopefully win us the league as well. I don't think we're going to lose a home game this season. I'm very, very confident at home. On the road against teams like Ipswich and teams like Southampton, it is a massive test. You're bang on. And I'm just really, if we can get the same kind of, it's such a statement win, isn't it? For either team, if they win this game, either
Yeah.
Southampton go and beat the league leaders or Coventry come through and beat Southampton after they've been on a really good home form. So I guess it brings us to score predictions, Martin. And we both think
Yeah.
there's going to be goals. Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a pessimist, but every time I predict Coventry to lose, they seem to go and win a really important game of football. So I've said all week, and I'm going to stick with it. I think Southampton are going to score 3 goals again, and I think it's going to be 3-2 Southampton.
Cool.
I'd predict
That'd be
Southampton
nice.
to have a quick start, 2-0 up potentially. Coventry to level things, get it back to 2-2, and then a late winner, maybe from Sienza or Armstrong,
Yeah.
just to break Coventry hearts. But yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I think it's going to be
Mm.
fantastic. How do you see it going, and what's your score prediction?
Yeah, game management will be key for us. That is 100% for sure. And he will have to use his bench really, really wisely. I do think there'll be goals in it. In my heart, if I'm honest with you, I just see we're vulnerable. And I think we'll probably end up losing it. I think it'd be the other way. I think it'd be more 3-2 to Coventry. Um, in my head, sorry. That with my
Mm.
heart, Saints win. But I'm a football man. I'm an honest man, and I've watched us a lot. And I think Lampard will do one on Eckert tomorrow. That's just my honest opinion. I think you'll have too much for us. I even think with the parachute payments and the money we spent, we should be a lot better than where we are right now. But our in-game management is not good enough, and we let too many sloppy goals in. And I think Coventry will capitalise on that. And yeah, I think you'll win it if I'm totally honest.
Music to my ears, Martin. Music to my
Yeah.
ears. Thank you very much for joining me today. Please do like and subscribe. As I say, pushing towards 1,000 subscribers, and get your score predictions in down below. Do you agree with me that Southampton are going to win, or Martin that Coventry are going to win? That seems the wrong way around, doesn't it?
It
Given the
does.
clubs we're here to represent, but maybe that's just the pessimistic football fans we are. I'll be back soon with a new video. Thank you very much, Martin, though, for joining us, and we'll see you
Welcome.
next time.